did they do? What did they do? Your ancestors, what did they do? Because the things that they did with their hands still affect your family line today. And that is true all the time for everyone. Okay. We are all affected by the things that our ancestors have done through time. I was thinking about this the other day. Okay. Okay. So, ancestrally speaking, I mean, geez, just the things that our ancestors did even 1,000 years ago still affect us today. And here's, I'm sorry, like, how do I even express this thought? Here's the thought. I read once upon a time about how in, you know, maybe early Renaissance times, it was so difficult to survive that you basically couldn't unless you were pretty extraordinary. And this is one reason why most people of particularly English descent trace their family trees back into a royal line. Because basically, unless you had connection to the royal line, like, you were not going to survive. The people that did not have those kinds of connections just couldn't make it through the winter. They just couldn't make it through the famine. You had to have these great family connections if you wanted to live. But more than that, but how did these royal lines become royal? Well, they did it by mostly things like military strategy, beating other people. Like, they had to be extraordinarily physically powerful, mentally powerful. That's how they became kings. And so we can look at these things like monarchy now from our modern lens, and we can sit there and be like, oh man, it's just totally unfair. Like, who said that those people are more important than those people? Well, I will tell you who said that was more important. Why do we think those people are more important? Well, because their ancestors actually were a lot more important, and they actually were a lot physically stronger and mentally stronger and emotionally stronger. Like, they had the spiritual energy that was necessary to lead large groups of people, to have the confidence in the face of uncertainty that inspired tons of people. They had the mental acuity to look at these big picture situations and say, okay, if my tribe, if my group of people are going to make it through the winter, this is just what we have to do. We're going to do this. And these are the people that had that power. And that is what made them the leaders. And then they passed that down the family line. I'm not here to say that like all people of, royal lineage are like great people. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that every king was a good guy. Obviously not. But it is to say they did have these different qualities that did qualify them to lead people, right? And then those traits get passed down through the family line. I always feel like we live in a really interesting time right now where we're kind of divorced from reality, right? Like, you can live your whole life and never really spend time next to a farm animal, which is unthinkable for most of history, right? But when you do live with a bunch of animals and you see how their traits are passed through their family lines, I feel like it becomes a lot more like obvious, like, oh, traits are passed through family lines. Like, if you want a powerful leader who's really smart, who has the capability of holding a lot of space for a lot of people, like on an energy level, it makes sense that a person like that would come from other people like that, right? Just like if you want a good-tempered dog, it makes more sense to breed two other good-tempered dogs to get a good-tempered dog, right? Like, it makes sense when you look at it from this biological perspective, but we're so divorced from biology right now that we kind of forget, and it's just easy to say monarchy is just all bad. I'm not here to say monarchy is good, but I am here to say that it did make sense, in the times and places where it has shown up. I think that there were reasons for that. And those reasons affect us today. So many of us are descended from those lineages, and or we are descended from people that were affected by those lineages, right? The things that our ancestors were up to 1,000 years ago are still affecting us today. What did our ancestors do? What did they do with their hands? These are the things that have impacted all of history, okay? The men that went to battle, they used their hand chakras to hold a weapon and defeat their enemies so that their wives and children could have food to eat and land to live on, okay? I'm not here to say war is great. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there were reasons why it happened. And a lot of times it was so that people could have the things that they needed to survive. These wars over resources made a lot of sense. In a world of scarce resources, somebody has to defend, like you have to take them and you have to defend them, and it makes sense. And people were doing that on behalf of their children, and what sacrifices have been made on the good side and on the bad side. The things that our ancestors have done with their hands for good impact us now. The things that our ancestors have done with their hands for evil also impact us now. And that is what today's session, that hand fascia session on behalf of our ancestors, is all about. It's about helping us just clear out the energy of what has been done. We're just clearing out the past history of the things that have been done through the family line that are still affecting us today. So I got an interesting email from somebody who said that she really disagreed with this series that I'm doing for one single month out of the year, also out of like all these years I've been here on YouTube, because Jesus can heal anything. And I'm sorry, I like talked about this other day. I'm like suddenly remembering. And that's true. And like, guess what? We're not repenting on behalf of our ancestors. They are the ones that have to do that. What we are doing is clearing out the energy of the situation. Okay. So if you think about it, so let's think about it. Last night, my daughter and my son punched my daughter. Well, and then I asked her, well, why did you punch him? Why did he punch her? See, I can't even remember. Well, it turned out she punched him because he punched her, because she kicked him because he poked her. And it kept going. It kept going, guys. Oh my gosh. And why am I even bringing this up? I can't even remember now. Oh my gosh, kids. I'm so sorry. Where was I? Brain. Because every time that somebody pokes us and punches us, they punch us, it creates a turbulence of energy, okay? And just because a person might change, right? If repentance is metanoia, it's changing the way that you breathe, it's changing the way that you think, it's changing the way that you act. So say you're the one doing the punching, you punch your friend, you can repent and you can say, I am so sorry. And you can be truly contrite, and you can actually change yourself and become a new person who would never punch another person. And that is amazing. Good job. And that in and of itself does not change the turbulence of energy that was created at that moment of that punch. Does that make sense? We are metabolizing the energy part. We're taking the energy of the punches, the whacks, the pokes, okay? We're taking the turbulence from that, and we're using our physical bodies to metabolize it. That is what we're doing. We're not repenting on behalf of other people. That is their business, okay? What we are doing is taking the energy out of it. We're taking the energy out of the family line. Are you processing the energy of punches from random strangers that punched your great grandpa? I don't know, but that's what we're working on. We're clearing out the energy. We're not actually changing their hearts. We're not replacing Jesus in any way. We are metabolizing energies, and that is what we are doing. So just to clear up any confusion. But the way that we're doing that today is by working on the hand chakras for our ancestors. No, that's not what we're doing. We're working on the hand fascia for our ancestors. If you want to work on hand chakras for your ancestors, I'm guessing that was a little Freudian slip for a good reason. So let's do the same exercise we did yesterday, but just on behalf of our ancestors. So we're going to go into our minds and just think about, today I'm doing this exercise for my ancestors. Go ahead and tap, tap, tap on your hands. And imagine all of your ancestors in this big auditorium, and they're all tapping on their hands too. Okay. And then imagine doing this, and imagine all your ancestors doing this as well, shaking up their hand chakra energy. And as they do that, I'm seeing a bunch of them are stirring up a lot of yucky, dark blood energy. Have some angels come and just like vacuum that out with one of those like handheld vacuum attachments, you know? Releasing, releasing. Oh. Okay, and then when you're ready, have them all switch to the other hand and do the same thing, vacuuming out any negative energy there. And rub your hands together. Imagine all your ancestors rubbing their hands together, feeling their hand chakras. Woo. And you can just mentally check in with them and see how they're doing. I feel like I'm seeing a thumbs up. So yeah, I hope that that helps. I hope that helps your family line. I hope that helps shift some things up for you. The things that we do today, right here, you and me, helping clear these turbulent energies from the family line. Here's the thing. You and I, we are living in this world that was created by an amalgamation of all of our ancestors, right? All these people that went before all of us. You know, I'm impacted by your ancestors impacted me, my ancestors impacted you. Like, we're all being impacted by everybody's ancestors all the time. But the pro tip is that we are the ancestors of the future, right? And so this is very exciting. Just like, you know, 1,000 years ago, these particular people showed up with this unusual strength, an unusual smarts, an unusual spirit, and they were the leaders of their time. Like, you get to be the leader of your time. And by you wiping out all of this junk from your family line, you are setting up your family tree for a new future. Isn't that incredible? You are the leader. You're the William the Conqueror of your family line. And I just love it so much for you. Okay, great. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Have the best day.